But now let's take it to our market guests. Ambareesh, welcome to the show. Sudarshan, good to have you back. Ambareesh, let's start with you first. We've just heard Lata talk about an RBI that seems to be a little bit more confident about less currency volatility. We've had better than expected news on the economy over the weekend, and yet Anuj says the only thing that's driving this market from strength to strength is the political outcome that we can expect towards the beginning of next week. Is that how you're looking at it as well?
Absolutely. I think this is what I had said last week. I think 8th is going to be clearly a decider which way the markets will move, and people are clearly quite hopeful of a favorable sort of a result, and I think people are clearly getting ready for that, and because of which we are seeing some sort of a upward movement in the market. And I suppose post 8th we should be able to break out of that 6350 range where we have been stuck for quite a while.
So Darshan, any temptation to book some part profits, or would you let the profits run? If you're saying that this really is a big move for the market?
No, I'm saying we are in an uptrend. The magnitude of the move is something that the market will decide. For short-term traders like us, there is a necessity to book some profits. We went long on Friday morning, and that was after the gap. That was publicly said on Thursday that we'll buy after 6100, opened at 6150, and we went long there. Clearly, the market has given some profits. Some profits should be booked if we are short-term traders. There's a lot more left in this market. Some should be carried, some positions.
All right, gentlemen, stay right there. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. We need to take a quick commercial break. We'll come back with the last 10 minutes of closing bell. Welcome back. This is Closing Bell. We've got Sudarshan Sukhani and Ambareesh Baliga with us today. Ambareesh, let's talk a little bit about the auto sector. We've seen yet another month of deep declines in sales, very weak consumer demand. Is this a sector that you're not interested in buying into at all for the next few months till you see a turn in terms of the demand cycle?
Not really, because I think this was on expected lines, and it is expected that possibly post January, February, you could see some amount of uptick as far as the auto sales is concerned, because right now it's clearly the inventory overhang which is talking, because of which we are seeing these weak numbers. So I think that should get corrected possibly around February next year. So from that point of view, I don't see much of a downside as far as the auto companies are concerned, and I think any sort of lower levels should be utilized to buy.
All right, let's pull out the intraday chart of BHEL and see what's happening over there. From 3 o'clock, there's been a decent move on BHEL, and it's in fact approaching day's high, 2.5% higher. So Darshan, I remember in the morning you said BHEL offers a great opportunity. Would you buy at current level as well, or would you wait for a bit of a correction?
No, we had an intraday correction, and the current level is now after the correction. I would be a buyer at the current it's not an intraday trade anymore. It's not for 330, but certainly something that you can carry forward. Even if there is a mild setback in the markets tomorrow or day after, I think it's worth taking the chance till Thursday, when, as I told you, the impact of the exit polls will come in. That's when profits should be taken.
Ambareesh, what's your call rather on these two stocks, news-driven stocks, ONGC and Power Grid?
No, it's not very clear.
Your view on ONGC and Power Grid, how would you approach these two stocks?
ONGC clearly, because of that demand, clearly I think it's negative for ONGC, and we have seen that reaction. Power Grid, clearly it was an arbitrage trade for the last few days, and that's what we were recommending to our clients, that to go short in futures and to buy in the FPO. And people have just done that. They've gone short at about 93.5, 94 levels, and would be looking at applying in the FPO where they're getting at 90.
We're seeing pharma in the top gainers list after a fairly long time, but Ranbaxy, Sun Pharma, Lupin. Sudarshan, what do you make of what these stocks look like on the chart?
No, I would be a little afraid of going for pharma, except as a very short-term trade. While we have seen the gains coming in today, pharma is also going through a very fair correction in the intermediate term. So I'm not that upbeat. I remain upbeat on financials. If this market is going above 6250 or 6270, it's going to be financials and IT, not pharma.
While IT also, we've had some good gains both on HCL Tech and Wipro today, though Infi and TCS continue to languish too. To bring the pharma question to you, Ambareesh, and I know pharma is difficult in terms of a sector to generalize. Specific picks out there that might excite you at all?
We have been positive on Sun Pharma and Lupin for quite a while, and they have performed extremely well, and we continue holding that. But I suppose a dark horse right now could be Cipla, which has been an underperformer. So in fact, that's one stock which can possibly bounce back over the next few weeks.
All right, let's look at some of the late movers, and these are just random moves. So I'm just looking at some of the stocks. Store One Retail, I don't know if we have that stock in our database, but that's one which has from 3 o'clock moved about 14-15%. A lot of stocks actually. Gujarat Industrial Power Company, which is up about 14% since or 5% since 3 o'clock. Look at Tata Communications. Pull out the intraday chart of Tata Communications. That stock is now up about 4% or so, and a lot of move actually came post 3 p.m. So big move on that. Sudarshan, I know you're bearish on Hindustan Unilever. You did mention that at the start of the show. What about ITC? Just in last 5-10 minutes, that's also seen a bit of an intraday correction.
No, but ITC is a far better stock to be long in as compared to Lever. While Lever has not completed its correction, ITC may well have done that. It's already done very well. So ITC is another stock that a blue chip that I would consider buying. All of this, Anuj, is about the next 2 days, because Thursday morning the markets will be different.
Okay, Ambareesh, what's your call on Lever after the 10% correction?
In fact, all through I've been, I was quite bullish on ITC as compared to HUL, but that went wrong to a certain extent because of that open offer. But still, fundamentally, I'm more comfortable having a ITC in my portfolio as compared to HUL.
Okay, let's look at some other stocks then. Ranbaxy is up about 6%. In fact, let's pull out the 1 month chart of Ranbaxy and see the kind of gains that we've seen. About 15% gains over there.
Ranbaxy, yeah.
Big move on Ranbaxy. Sudarshan, would you carry forward positions on Ranbaxy? In the past, you have been bullish on the stock.
Yeah, I would. Ranbaxy is now an exception. The very sharp rally we have seen today tells us that something is going very different here in this stock. The rally that we saw earlier is being sustained. It's not a day trade or not even a swing trade. You have to have the courage and conviction to carry it for a few weeks.
Okay, Ambareesh, anything in particular about HCL Tech? Because this clearly looks like an individual stock trade, because not too many IT stocks are doing well, but HCL Tech is up about 3.5-4% in today's trade.
HCL Tech, I think, clearly will stand out because of the consistency in the sort of results they've been coming out for the last 8 to 10 quarters, and I think that is going to continue. So if there's one stock in IT which has to be picked up at this point of time, especially when we are looking at IT being slightly, comparatively weak as compared to the rest of the market, I think it would be HCL Tech.
Ambareesh, let me put a political question to you, since so much of what you expect will happen in the markets is linked to the outcome of the elections. If and I'm told the street is favouring the BJP to win 3 out of 4 states, we're talking about the main elections. I know we keep missing Mizoram out of this, but if that does in fact happen, do you expect to see a broad across the market move higher, or do you think that there are certain stocks that can outperform in such a scenario? And again, will that outperformance be limited to just a day or two in terms of trading, or could it be sustained?
In fact, if the result is favorable, like what you're talking of, if it is 3 out of 4, you can clearly, expect a 300-point rally on the Nifty. I think that is very much possible.
Mm-hmm. And specific stocks that might outperform the kind of headline indices performance that you may see because of that?
No, I think one of the front runners would be banks, where we have seen that overall, if you're talking the last 4 to 6 months, they have lagged to a certain extent. But at the same time, the other laggards, where you hardly seen any performance, for example, like capital goods and infrastructure. Sure. I think these are the specific sectors where you can see a major bump up.
All right, just about half a minute left from market closing. Let's do a quick recap. The Nifty would close above 6,200 based on the averaging as well. There was no particular stock of the day. There were a lot of stocks gaining with big volumes. Ranbaxy was up 6%, Jindal Steel and Power was up 5%, Sun Pharma, HCL Tech were both up about 4%. So any of these stocks could really have been your stock of the day. Axis Bank, Wipro, Lupin, BHEL, the point that Menka made earlier in the day, from across the sector, individual stocks were gaining ground, and yes, the banking did well and a couple of IT names did well, but other than that, there was no sectoral trend, and all these stocks were doing well. On the way down, of course, you had a couple of stocks which dragged the market. One was Hindustan Unilever, which was down about 2%, and the other was ONGC, which was down about 1%.
Well, the only other sectoral trend in the last 15 minutes or half an hour of trade is that all the cement stocks which were marginally in the green are going to end the day, losers in that sense. So you've got Ultratech, ACC, Ambuja, all selling off between 20, about 0.5% or so across the three key cement stocks. Otherwise, I think, Anuj, you've summed up pretty much everything that's happened today. A mixed bag on auto, despite those very weak numbers. Maruti was a loser, down 1%. Most of the other auto stocks in the green, and that was the case with metal as well. Hindalco was a loser, whereas most other metal stocks were ended with gains in today's trade. That's broadly how to describe this market at this point in time. In terms of mid-cap, any specific stocks that we should be watching out for?
Yeah, I'll talk about it, but with the caveat that should not laugh on it. A lot of these companies were Gujarat-based, are the ones that rallied today. Simtex was up about 12%, Gujarat NRE Coke was up 7.5%, Urban Mills was up about 3.5%. So make what you will of whatever happened, but some of these stocks did quite well, and with big volume.
There are non-Gujarat-based names on that list as well. Amtech, SRF. Then we saw JM Financials, as we were talking about that.
Yes.
Jubilant, Manappuram, those are all some of the gainers on the top gainers list in the mid-cap index. Arvind, I wanted to add to that list, but it's Gujarat-based, so I won't say much more.
Yeah, so a lot of stocks doing well, but let's get some mid-cap picks then. Sudarshan, I know you want to participate in this market via large caps, but a lot of mid-caps are gaining ground, and a lot of people say that maybe the big money will be made via mid-caps over the next 3 or 4 weeks or next 3 or 4 months. Any particular stocks that come to mind?
Well, one stock that comes to mind today is Tata Communications. It's broken out of a very large trading range after a consolidation and is now rallying. I assume that would qualify as a mid-cap. I'm not a very big fan of following mid-caps, as you rightly know. I have found that people get burned very, very quickly in this.
What happened to cement? Sorry, Anuj, but what happened to cement? Sudarshan, any clues why? Because India Cement is one of the top losers on the mid-cap index, and on the Nifty, we saw all 3 cement stocks dip into the red towards the last half hour of 45 minutes of trade. Anything material there?
Because no, the main reason probably is that interest has shifted to IT and financials rather than cement, which is a low beta play anyway. Beyond that, there is no reason, and this small correction, if it persists for one more day, would be a buying opportunity.
All right. Ambareesh, what are you looking at in the mid-cap space that interests you?
Auto ancillaries, is a space where we feel that there could be a good move. Although we have recommended Bharat Forge and Motherson Sumi in the past, which have done well. Exide is another stock which I think should do well based on the replacement market theory, which has played out extremely well for CEAT, although it's a different sector in tires. But we feel that the same thing could work out as far as batteries are concerned. They had a bad quarter in the last 2 quarters, especially because of the lead prices. But I think that should even out, going ahead. And that's one stock which is underperformed and should really perform over the next at least foreseeable 4 to 6 months.
So, Darshan, a couple of these index stocks, and I want to know if you think the correction or bear market, whatever is over in these stocks, Bharti Airtel and Sesa Sterlite.
Well, it's certainly over in Bharti Airtel. Now, we can have deep corrections. That will happen. This market is not going to go one-sided anyway. That's for sure. But the point is that the worst of the prices have probably been seen here. So any sharp correction in Bharti is an excellent buying opportunity. As it is, as we speak, for swing traders, today's minor rally in Bharti tells us there's more upside that has started after a dip. What was the second stock?
Sesa Sterlite.
It's very difficult to say for Sesa Sterlite. See, the bear market is probably over. It's likely to be an underperformer. To that extent, Tata Steel is a far better opportunity. But Tata Steel is now coming towards our 430, 440 target. We talked about it many sort of tens, at much lower prices. So, but even then, on dips, Tata Steel is a better opportunity than Sesa.
Ambareesh, would you be brave enough to buy Tata Steel at 410, knowing that just 2 months back the stock was at sub 200?
In fact, I mean, I was brave enough to buy at 250 when people are talking of it going, below 200. So even at these levels, I'm quite positive because we feel that the cycle has clearly turned, and at least we have a price target of about 440, 450, which I've been saying that for a while. I think at those levels, I'll again take a view, but surely I'll not buy at 410 to sell at 440. Maybe I'll take a fresh view at 440.
Is it only ferrous that interests you, Ambareesh? Do you have a view on Sesa and Hindalco?
Yes, it's mostly ferrous, but then even aluminium we expected to do well. So from that point of view, we are also looking at Hindalco.
All right, gentlemen, it's 5 minutes past the end of trade. Thank you very much for joining us with your thoughts on today's trade and the many investment and trading ideas that you've shared with us. Ambareesh, Sudarshan, thanks very much for that. With that, we'll head into a quick break, but when we come back, there seems to be no respite for NSE.